In this video, let's talk about the basic concept for sharpening, and then I'll show you how I really sharpen my chisels. And if you want to know what tools I use for doing it, you can go check out my last video where I list out the 10 tools I use for sharpening my chisels. So first, there are essentially 3 ways to sharpen the tools defined by the surface of the bevel on the edge. They are hollow ground, flat ground, and a round ground. If we grind the bevel on a round circumference grinding wheel, the resulting bevel will be grounded slightly hollow, matching the curve of the outside of the wheel. And that is hollow ground. And the smaller the wheel, the deeper the concavity it makes. Then, a flat bevel, aka a flat ground, is the natural result of careful grinding on a flat bench stone. As the bevel is repeatedly hung on the stone, the cutting point at the front of the bevel and the heel of the bevel are progressively hung larger and larger until they touch in the middle, forming one flat bevel. And after having a flat bevel, if the tip and the heel of the flat bevel are further grinded more than the middle, as it would happen with sloppy grinding on a flat stone, the bevel will then turn into a round surface, aka round ground. Each of the 3 basic bevel types has advantages and disadvantages. You have to know when to use which. And for the chisels, we are going to use hollow ground. So we will have to prepare the edge shape and grind the bevel on a round circumference grinding wheel to develop a hollow ground. Our goal here is to make the length of the bevel around twice as the thickness of the blade, and you can also think of it as making a bevel that is around 30 degrees. We will first need to set up the tool rest, and in an ideal world, you can approximate the correct angle for the tool rest by setting it based on another similar tool that you have. But well, since maybe this is your first time build, there is a big chance that you don't have another similar tool. And in this case, I will start by checking the measurement of my chisel and see how close I am to the ideal shape. Make sure the caliper is tuned to 0 when it is close, and then measure the bevel. The thickness is 3.3mm, and the bevel should be twice as the thickness of the blade, which is around 6.6mm. And we are very close. Then adjust the jewel rest to an angle that is approximately correct. Then place the jewel on the rest and bring it up to the stone. Don't move the stone just yet, and visually check to see if the angle is correct. And when the angle is close enough, grind the bevel a little up against the stone and make sure the blade is not pointing at you and the stone is running into the blade. Then remove the jewel and look for the new scratches on the bevel, and they will tell you which direction you need to adjust the jewel rest. And as you can see here, the scratches are at the front of my chisel, so I need to tune the angle up a bit and try again. Now it is closer to the center, but I think there is still some room. And when I'm this close, I'll just tap the rest lightly with the jewel to make very fine adjustment to the angle, like this. And let's try again. Now the scratches are in the middle and are in where I want them to be. Then it's time to start some serious grinding to establish the initial bevel and the edge shape. On the edge, I would first put a square at the very tip of the chisel and use a marker to mark a line there so I can see clearly if I'm getting the shape that I want when grinding. All my chisels are straight across and maybe a bit of a tip in the middle sometimes. And if you are preparing a tool for the first time, you have to spend more time on this initial grinding, but once you've set it up, it will be an easy go. And notice that I keep moving my chisel left and right when grinding and not staying in only one spot, so I'm not going to scratch grooves on the grinding surface or making it irregular. And if you're not confident enough to make the bevel and the edge shape at the same time, it is sometimes easier to shape the line of the edge first by pushing the tool straight into the stone. Then when you're grinding the bevel, pay attention to this streak of light that is reflected from the tip. It will go smaller and smaller when you grind your bevel. And so all you have to do here is to grind the bevel carefully, make the bevel smooth and balanced, and grind until this line finally disappears into a sharp edge. But I don't do this myself, I'll just do the bevel and the shape at the same time. And after a bit of grinding, we've now developed the hollow ground. And the bevel should look something like this. Then use your fingers to touch the tip of the flat surface lightly, going out from the blade. You can feel that there are some burr or hair hanging on the edge of it. And don't move your fingers left and right too fast, or it may slice your fingers. And when we have burr on the flat surface, then we can now go hone the blade on the sharpening stones. Before everything, make sure your stones are soaked in water already, and now they are wet. We'll first hone the surface that has the burr, which means the flat surface. So take the 1000 grit stone out and lay the blade flat on the stone, and then hone the whole back, not just the tip. And after some honing, touch the edge of the flat surface again. You can feel that the burr is gone. Well, actually, it's not gone. It just went to the other side and become smaller. Then turn the blade over and hone the bevel side. On this side, I'll hold the tool handle lightly in one hand and applying most of the downward pressure with the index or middle fingertip of my other hand exactly above where the tool is touching the stone, pressing down on the very end of the tool over the bevel and slide slightly. And keep in mind that the pressure here should be just enough to make the tool move stably on the stone, and not pushing into the stone, as we are not doing stone carving here. I'll slide the tool on the stone in only one direction, as though I was shaving the stone, and then lift the tool to bring it back to the starting point, because moving back and forth tends to be too unstable and can round the edge. If you're doing it correctly, you can see two lines on the stones which are coming out from the two ends of your bevel. And if you pick the chisel up, you also see the two ends of the bevel that makes the two lines got polished already. The heel get polished at the same time in order to assure I'm polishing at the same angle each time I lay the bevel solidly on the stone, touching at both the point and the heel of the bevel. And now, the burr should be back on the flat surface and become even smaller. Then flip the blade over and repeat what we just did. After a few honing on both sides, you can feel that the burr become much smaller. Then change to the 8000 grit stone and keep honing until you can feel the burr is gone. Or should I say, until you can't feel the burr anymore. And to see if your tool is sharp enough, you can try cutting the hair on your fingers or on your arms. If it cuts, then it is sharp enough already. And because I don't have a lot of finger hair given by my ancestors, I've grown some goatee here for you, and let's see if I can trim them off. Okay. And let me clean it up a bit. Alright, so it is very sharp. And this is also one of the reasons why you should be more polite when you talk to violin makers. Just kidding. But of course, sometimes you're gonna use up your resources if you sharpen your tools every day. And in this case, you can just put the blade lightly on your nail. If it is sharp enough, you'll feel like it is grasping your nail, and you can feel that it is danger with your human instinct, then it is sharp enough. Then, a very important step here is remember to clean up the water on your tool with a towel or tissue paper after sharpening, because water will rust your tool. And again, towel is better because it is more environmental friendly. And that's how we do the basic sharpening. But we're not done yet. Here is an exaggerated example of an unflat stone. You can see it clearly when I put the ruler on. You see the gap there, as water stones wear and scratch easily. Plus it is easy and therefore natural for us to use only the middle part of the stone. After some sharpening, the stones may not be as flat, and the middle part of the stone would become thinner. And if I keep sharpening my tools on this stone, the flat surface of my blade will slowly become rounder and rounder, and suddenly would become unusable. And so you can rub two stones together in circle, or in the shape of the infinity sign from time to time to keep them flat. And you can also do that on the diamond stone when both of your water stones are not flat, or just that you're not sure if they are flat or not. And subsequently, when sharpening, keep in mind to use the whole surface of the stone as even as possible. Don't keep honing only in the middle or only in one spot. You should use the whole stone. And also, when you did do some sharpening, you'll sometimes find that there are some light cuts on your fingers. It is because the square edge of the blade is actually sharp, and your fingers got cut when you're holding the tools tight. So when I get a new blade, I will usually use a file and sandpaper to polish the side edge a little, or even hone the sides with my 240 and 600 grit stone to round the edges a little so it won't cut into my skin. And also, be careful that you don't cut yourself with the main blade here when working on the edge. I would also cut the handle of my chisels shorter to a length that I can hold the whole handle in my hand. This will make the tool more balanced and much easier to use, but it is optional. So that's how I prepare and sharpen my chisel. And let's do a revision here so we can remember it better. There are 3 ways to sharpen the tools, defined by the surface of the bevel on the edge. They are hollow ground, flat ground, and a round ground. And we use hollow ground here for the chisels, and also for the block links. And there are mainly 3 steps in sharpening. First, prepare the edge shape and grind the shape out with the grinding wheel stone. Then, hone the tool on the 1000 grit stone. And remember to slide the tool on the stone in only one direction when honing the bevel side. Then change to the 8000 grit stone and hone until the tool is sharp. Then thirdly, remember to clean up the water on your tool, ideally with a towel. And lastly, don't forget to take time to keep your stones clean and true. So that's about it. If you found this video useful, please help me to share it with your friends and family if they are also into woodworking, and let's make this world a safer place. Also, if you are into violin making, you can come join our free community to meet with more like-minded people to talk about violin making all day, every day. I'll drop the link below so you can check it out, and I'll see you next time.